So, the ending of Outer Wilds. I still haven't recovered from this 5 years later. I finished Outer Wilds on September 30th, 2020, and since then there hasn't been a single day that I haven't thought about it. I was 19 then, and I'm 24 now. We have a lot to go through before we get to that ending though. So we're going to go back to the far-off date of January 18th, 2020. Ooh. I know some of you have heard this story before, but I first heard about Outer Wilds from Snowman Gaming, a YouTube channel I was following pretty closely at the time. They uploaded a video about Outer Wilds. I was just barely over a minute in before they started talking about how it's best experienced blind. Now, I've been through this before. Game Theory released an Undertale theory video about Gaster back in 2017, and I decided that hearing MatPat's words were more important to me than experiencing Undertale. And I regret ignoring his warning to play the game first. And I wasn't going to do that again here. So, I saved the video into my spoilers playlist on YouTube, and I put Outer Wilds on my wishlist on Steam. Not that it was even on Steam yet, or that my crappy laptop would even be able to run it. But this was all a big misunderstanding on my part, because the PS4 version of the game was out by this point, and I just didn't know about it yet. I didn't hear about it again until June 19th, later that year. Some friends and I were talking about our favorite video games, and one of them casually recommended Outer Wilds. He had recently been playing it and described how incredible it was. I chimed in that I had heard similar things and was curious to check it out. We all ended up picking it up and starting it over that weekend. It's not like we had anything better to do in the midst of a pandemic. I think this was the best way that I could have experienced it. With friends. I'm not the best at solving puzzles, so having people to sort of nudge me in the right direction without outright giving me the solution was a godsend. Anyways, after that conversation with my friends, I got home and I downloaded Outer Wilds onto my PS4. The PS4 that I only bought to play Spider-Man. I remember the first time that I ever booted up Outer Wilds. After you make your way through the menus, you get to a black screen and a single prompt. Wake up. So, I did. Outer Wilds is an open-world game, though not in the Ubisoft sense. If you watched my video about Breath of the Wild, you know that I have an affinity for open-world games that don't look like this. And Outer Wilds very much does not look like that. It tells you where to start, but it doesn't treat you like an idiot with no navigation skills, even if you are an idiot with no navigation skills. This requires you to engage with Outer Wilds on a level that not many games do. And I think because of that, it reaches people much more deeply than it would otherwise. You have to be invested and engaged because you can't proceed if you aren't. But anyways, returning to the opening. The guy at the campfire says something about launch codes and where to find them, and eventually, after roasting enough marshmallows, I make my way up towards it. I make a couple of stops along the way, one at the Ghost Matter and one at a Zero-G cave. But I end up at the observatory eventually. I find Hornfels and get the codes from him. Then they ask me where I plan on going. I guess I hadn't really thought about it yet, so I pick something random out of the options that they give. Well, I have the launch codes now, so I guess that I'll head back to the ship. What the fuck is that? What the fuck was that? I walk out, and Hal says that the statue is Nomai, and that Gabbro was looking into the Nomai statues on Giant's Deep. It's honestly hard to back down from a hook as good as that. Now I definitely know where I'm going. While Outer Wilds will obviously let you go just about anywhere, it's pretty obvious that they want you to go to Giant's Deep first. The first mystery you get hit with is that weird statue thing, and then, almost immediately, you're told about where you can find more about this statue. That's definitely not a coincidence. It's also a great planet to be your first planet. The giant tornadoes make for visuals that are immediately striking. Additionally, the planet being mostly water means that the areas worth exploring are pretty obvious right away. Just go to one of the islands. You might even see a tornado throw an island up into orbit. God, that's awesome. Well, terrifying is probably the first word that comes to mind, but after you get used to it, awesome becomes more appropriate. I think it makes the whole world feel more alive, because there's just so much happening even when I'm not looking. Oh yeah, so the sun blows up. It's pretty much the defining mechanic of Outer Wilds. It's one of those things that works perfectly in a gameplay, story, and technical aspect. Gameplay-wise, it divides your sessions into chunks and gives you natural stopping points. Or alternatively, it makes you want to finish something that was unceremoniously cut off by the end of a loop. As far as the story goes, it plays into this motivation that you have to stop it and quote-unquote save the universe. And in a technical sense, I doubt that this giant planetary physics simulation would continue to work as well as it does if allowed to continue into infinity. Outer Wilds does a stellar job at capturing the unknown of space. It's terrifying going out on your first exploration, and your second, and your 10th, and your last. Just when you think you've turned the unknown into known, you find something new to be scared of. Though given the time loop nature of the game, it can sometimes be disheartening to see successes achieved, progress moved forward, or bonds formed all get erased. Outer Wilds is ephemeral by its very nature, but that doesn't mean that it feels good that everyone you meet is going to forget any and all interaction with you in 22 minutes. Well, okay, not everyone. Let's head to Giant's Deep. We're going to talk about Gabbro. Gabbro is the Outer Wilds venturer who ended up on Giant's Deep. And also, they happened to stumble upon the same type of mask that you did, meaning that they're in this time loop with you, and also remember everything. Unlike everyone else in the game, Gabbro understands. It may be lonely, but there's a comfort in knowing that you aren't the only one stuck here. I found myself returning to Giant's Deep anytime that I discovered something new, just so that I could share it with Gabbro. They might even point you towards the cannon orbiting above, where you'll learn more about the Nomai's attempts to find the eye of the universe. If you make your way up to the cannon, you'll read about Cassava and several other Nomai working on the orbital probe cannon, and how it would work in tandem with the Ash Twin project to find the eye. Though there's one segment of the cannon that seems to have detached, it's fallen far below the surface of Giant's Deep. But once you make your way down there, you'll see that the universe must have been stuck in this loop for a long time, because the cannon has launched the probe over 9 million times. Though it's not in vain, as the probe did discover the coordinates of the eye of the universe. There's nothing to do with them yet though, so I'll just hold on to them for now. If you travel to Brittle Hollow, you'll find the second most difficult planet to navigate, where any wrong move could send you all the way across the galaxy. But if you manage to make your way through all the falling planetary pieces and vast chasms waiting to swallow you whole, you'll find Rybeck, the undeniably best member of Outer Wilds ventures. Rybeck is terrified of space. Why they decided to become an astronaut is a question only they know the answer to. But it's always fun to come up here and hang out with them, even when it's just sitting and listening to them playing the banjo. There's something comforting and homey about this small respite with everything crumbling around you. I find myself returning here often to just enjoy the ambiance with them. They don't know that the end is coming, but that doesn't mean that their presence can't still be comforting. Sometimes I just wanted to be near them. If you find the escape pod on the surface and follow one of the pathways down into the planet, you can eventually find how the Nomai arrived in this solar system. After trying to follow the signal from the eye of the universe, their vessel crashed in Dark Bramble. They sent out 3 escape pods. One landed here on Brittle Hollow, one on the Hourglass Twins, and one never made it out of Dark Bramble. The people who landed here on Brittle Hollow would go on to create the Hanging City, which in turn was where they produced the warp cores. They'd used the black hole forge and lowered into the black hole at the center of Brittle Hollow, and through some scientific process beyond my understanding, used it to create the aforementioned warp cores. These would go on to power all of the projects used to discover the Eye, including the Ash Twin project. On the surface, you can also learn about these quantum shards, if you're like me and ignored the one in the Timber Hearth Museum. This is the most interesting and unique idea in Outer Wilds, the way that they were able to turn quantum theory into video game mechanics, where a quantum object exists in multiple places until you look at it and see it, forcing all possibilities to compact down into one, even applying to an object the size of a moon. The quantum moon is one of my favorite mysteries in Outer Wilds, and I think the best designed puzzle. It's also, surprisingly, not required to beat it. I love the way that you can catch glimpses of it throughout the solar system, always in a different place. It really gets your mind wondering what it is and how it works. And I love the way that you solve it, finding 3 distinct rules all set on different planets, and then putting them all together to eventually reach the last living Nomai, Solanum. After all of this time reading about them, you finally get to meet a Nomai in person. Solanum talks about her own journey, not just in reaching the quantum moon, but also the way that she believed that the Eye of the Universe was evil when she was young. She believed that that was the only explanation for why it would lead this group of Nomai away from their people and then trap them here, leaving them without any more signal. But she thinks differently now. She's now excited to see the Eye. It is her fondest hope, as she puts it, though she starts to suspect the truth, that she's not fully alive. The other versions of her on the other versions of the quantum moon have all died from the same thing that killed the rest of the Nomai. If you travel to the Interloper, you can find out why the Nomai aren't around anymore. Deep inside of the Interloper, there is some kind of structure which at one point was full of ghost matter. This structure exploded and spread across the entire universe, killing all Nomai, including the 5 other versions of Solanum. You've now learned the truth of the Eye of the Universe, and why the Nomai were never able to reach it. At least one of the reasons. We're now going to go look at Dark Bramble and see about the other missing Nomai escape pod. And I think Timber Hearth is the best place to start, given that there's a bramble seed sitting on the surface. Before that, though, I want to make a stop at the Addle Rock, the moon orbiting Timber Hearth. Esker is posted up there, whistling in their rocking chair. They're very lonely, even mentioning that home base forgot to bring them food for so long that they had to send their scout down just to remind them. You can talk to Esker for as long as you want, but eventually you'll realize that they never really want to stop talking, even when you're just repeating the same dialogue options over and over again. So instead, let's move on down to Timber Hearth itself. You can find some old mining locations on Timber Hearth where the Nomai were digging for materials. They would use these materials to construct the outer shell of the Ash Twin project. The Nomai would also discover an early form of the Hearthians, and they made sure to leave enough metals and other natural materials behind so that the Hearthians would have the ability to build their own technology in the future, which is a pretty cool thing for them to do. Once you make your way to the Bramble Seed, if you pull out your signal scope, you can hear Feldspar's harmonica, the venturer who's been supposedly missing for years. Additionally, if you shoot your scout inside, you might see Feldspar themselves. So you travel to Dark Bramble, following your scout signal, until you find them. Feldspar is kind of the inverse of Esker. While Esker wishes someone would pay attention to them, Feldspar just wanted to get away from everyone. While Esker is nearby and everyone knows where they are, Feldspar is far off, their location a mystery to the rest of the Hearthians. Feldspar likes it out here, alone, lost in Dark Bramble. Despite all of the frightening things around, they're happy here. But eventually, after enough talking, you'll move past Feldspar and deeper into Dark Bramble to find the vessel. If you search every corner, eventually you'll find an escape pod, the one that you read about on Brittle Hollow, the one that didn't make it out. The Nomai on this pod tried to return to the vessel as they ran out of air, but there were 2 duplicated signals, so they went to the closest one. You can follow a trail left behind by them, until you find a large group of now dead Nomai looking through an opening of a bramble seed, unable to enter. If you shoot your scout through this, you'll find the vessel, now just to follow the scout to its location. Though once you arrive, it's obvious that the vessel is in no shape to fly. Its warp core is broken, there's no power anywhere, and you can't really do much of anything. Maybe there's something in the Ash Twin project that everything seems to keep pointing to. The Ash Twin project is obviously on Ash Twin, but let's start on the other mass, Ember Twin, where you'll find Chert. Chert is an interesting guy. Definitely the nerdiest of all the Outer Wilds venturers. They enjoy talking about all the quirks and rare scientific phenomena going on in the solar system. I think it's obvious why they picked the Hourglass Twins as their outpost. It's definitely the coolest planet, and has a great view of all the stars and planets, which is just the type of thing that Chert would nerd out about. They're a very observant person, and a scientist at heart, which ends up being detrimental for their quality of life in a time loop where the sun explodes every 22 minutes. As the loop progresses, Chert begins to notice the stars all around us appear to be going supernova, a worrying prospect all on its own. It doesn't concern him too much at first, but they're definitely a bit wary of the whole situation. Give it some more time though, and as our own sun begins to swell and turn red, the realization dawns on them. We're next.
It's the stars, you see. All the other stars are dying out. Why did we have to be born at the end of the universe?
If you talk to him even closer to the supernova, they'll say,
Come sit with me, my fellow traveler. Let's sit together and watch the stars die.
And if you decide to sit with him, they repeat a familiar line.
We only get so much time, don't we? There's still more I wanted to do. How unlucky to have been born at the end of the universe.
Not a cry of asking why, not a fear for the supernova, but acceptance. How unlucky. I could understand this being read as nihilism, but I've never seen it that way. I've always seen it as a realization of what really matters at the end of all things. Being with others. Sharing a moment. Giving up isn't the answer. People are. Okay, one more loop. I'm gonna go into the Ash Twin Project, and once I'm there, I'll find the warp core. Exactly what I need to fly to the vessel. In Outer Wilds, I spent the majority of the game reading conversations between dead people. I read about their scientific discoveries, their failures, how they came to this galaxy, and how they eventually left it. I read to try and find one thing in particular: how to save the universe. The Nomai researched around every corner and under every rock of the galaxy. If anyone's gonna know how to save it, it's them. I read about the Ash Twin Project, this massive undertaking to find the eye of the universe. The Nomai went so far as creating time travel to find its location, but it needed a power source. A big power source. A supernova. I read about the Sun Station, how the Nomai created this device that caused a supernova to generate the power needed. This has to be it. Except, it's not. I get inside and I read more. It doesn't work. It never worked. The sun will blow up, with or without the Sun Station's influence. The galaxy is just ending, because it's time. But there's one more hope. One more attempt at a resolution, one more try to save everyone. The eye of the universe. This elusive specter on the horizon that eluded even the Nomai, despite their best efforts. But I have something now that they didn't. The location of the eye. Of course, I obviously only know this location because of all the efforts of the Nomai before me, but I know it all the same. I just need a ship that can take me there. And so, I ventured deep into dark bramble, quietly floating past the giant anglerfish, dodging the enormous branches and trying not to get lost. Until, eventually, I reached it again. The vessel. With the Ash Twin core in hand, I power the vessel. I enter the coordinates. It's time to go. I'm not sure what I expected to see when I got to the eye. Maybe I didn't expect anything at all. But this was off-putting. The lightning storm, the fractal, the observatory, the forest. Yourself? It's a lot to take in. But you do eventually come across something familiar and calming. A campfire. And Esker. If you pull out your signal scope, they're not the only one. You can hear the other's instruments. Following one of the quantum rules, I see a Nomai ruin decay, revealing Rybek's banjo. I followed the poem in the ancient glade, eventually finding Gabbro's flute. When I zoom in real close into the distance, I can see Chert's bongos floating through space. I panicked when I saw an anglerfish ready to eat me whole, but that's where Feldspar's harmonica is hiding. And finally, there's Solanum's piano. After following the sound over to here, you can find 4 Nomai skeletons. If you look to the sky and back down over and over, they'll start to stack up. And as the Nomai stack on top of each other, a spaceship appears, showing how their scientific progress only exists by building up on the people that came before them. People who never got to see the fruits of their labors, yet nevertheless worked to make a better future. And with that, everyone's here. I really think that it means something that after all of the insanity, all of the explosions, all of the horror, all of the mystery solving, this is where Outer Wilds decides to plant its feet firmly and say, this is what it's all about. This is what matters. Here's what I think it means. Whatever else may have happened leading up to this point, whatever horrors you've seen, whatever pain you've been through, whatever difficulties you've experienced, you're here now, you're surrounded by friends, and you're safe. Maybe saving the universe starts with loving the people around you. Whether it's for 22 minutes or for 14.3 billion years, loving those around you is the most valuable way to use that time. And maybe, just maybe, those people can make the universe a little bit better too.
Guys! Outer Wilds! The video! It's out! You just watched it! We did it, guys! It's here! Hopefully the 3 videos in 3 weeks made up for the 2.5 something years that I've gone without uploading anything. And more is on the way, don't you worry. Maybe don't quote me on that, it might be another 2 years before something comes out. But, thank you. Seriously, guys, you give me a place to have a creative outlet, and I feel like I can put a lot of myself into these videos and just put them out, and it makes it feel great. So, thank you for being here. It feels really good to have this video out now. It has been a monster, a looming presence on the horizon for years now. And just, it feels nice to have it out. It feels like there's a pressure off of my shoulders, and that like I can make other Outer Wilds videos in the future if I decide to, but like it doesn't have to be the Outer Wilds video now because I just have something out, and it feels good. I'm glad that we're here. And what's that sound? No, please. No, I'm sorry.